Right?
Yeah.
Fresh. Yeah, there we go. Live and direct. I want to say a prayer too, man.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
Cool.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you this morning. Lord, thank you for my brother Paul. Even though we are in different locations, I thank you for the brotherhood and the closeness and camaraderie. Today, I just ask that you would open our hearts to receive, have an open mind, to learn, to heal, to grow, to flourish, and to become better prepared for what's ahead. And I pray that this conversation is fruitful, is dynamic, and that there's a brother out there who can use this information to better improve his life and where he is in his journey. So we love you. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Blessings, man. Always feels good to have that. Always feels
Yeah.
good to have that, man. Man,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Ready, to rock?
Yes, sir.
Man, let's chat it up about how we first met, man.
Yeah, that's
Yo,
interesting.
yeah. You want to kick it off, man?
Yeah, yeah. Tamara Barber is she's a good friend of mine, and we went to church together, and she just introduced me to this idea of doing something completely different than I've ever done before with the conference slash gathering, if you will.
Yeah.
And I was open minded enough to sign up, and I'm glad I did because I talk about that experience all the time. And
Me
that
too.
was a a workshop slash just spiritual healing exercise. Man, it was a cleansing type of conference. It wasn't normal, and you were there, I was there, and a whole lot of other people from various backgrounds. It's probably one of the most diverse groups I've ever been a part of. All walks of life, and we had a connection, man. Just through our journeys, our stories, and just got to talking about life and making that commitment to always continue to try to grow and get better.
Mm.
That was maybe what 5 6 years ago.
I think it was almost 7, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It was almost 7 years ago, bro.
And it feels like it was yesterday
Yeah.
because of how dynamic and impactful it was.
True words,
Um,
bro.
it opened me up. It opened me up to understanding that this work that we do on ourselves on the inside is far greater than the work that we do out here. You know, not that that's not important, but you can't truly be authentic to that when you're not authentic to yourself. And
Oof.
I remember the one exercise. I don't know if you remember this, where we had to shave our face. And
Yo, I've always got a baby face, man, so I didn't have to
yeah.
worry about that. Man, I grow patches. I grow patches.
So that was very hard for me. That was one of the hardest things to do because I was so connected to my appearance. And
mm.
the thing that the instructor said to me, I can't remember the guy's name, but he said, "What are you hiding behind?" And it just was like, wow, it's amazing
Yeah.
how many things we hide. And we just had a great connection, man, and I'm thankful for it. Um, Off and on, we've talked, we've challenged each other, we've encouraged each other. You've encouraged me even this week, man, on some things that I was dealing with as it relates to my organization.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to have that type of brotherhood with someone that we're not competing against one another. I want you to do well. I want you to prosper. Because if you make it to the top, man, listen, we all get up there because
Th-
it's about it's about all of us succeeding in different areas of life. It's a beautiful thing about the
Bro,
brother.
you
So
said it. I'm here like sharing this thing that we got going on right now.
yeah,
I'm hearing what you're saying, and brother, can I tell you, you and I, man, when I first met you down in North Carolina, I was like, yo, this is my dude right here. And I remember and I gotta be direct, man, because when like at that moment in my life and in my development, I was still really learning how to trust men. So when I would feel stuff like I got a connection with this dude, I remember looking at you like, yo, I could rock with that cat, man, because like how you presented yourself, how you stood up. I remember you sat in the front, and I automatically right from Jump Street, I was like, yo, I admire this cat because I never used to like sit up in front, bro.
yeah,
And you were dipped, bro. You looking fresh, bro. The shoes, a whole outfit. So I was like, yo, my man's chilling right here. And being from Jersey, I was like, yo, I dig this guy. And I remember hearing you speak, and I was like, yo, this dude's got depth. And I was also taken back with how diverse that group was. And I remember when you and I connected, I was like, yeah, this is my guy right here. And we stayed connected throughout. And you know what's one of the things, Maurice, that always sticks out? I will always remember a conversation you and I had when I was visiting my son in Florida. I
hmm
remember I was sitting in a parking lot, and you and I were speaking life, man. And I will always be in gratitude for that conversation because our relationship to each other and our support for each other, I sense deepened that day
yeah,
because we really got to know each other, man. And it was like I knew it. I knew I was confident at that point. Like, listen, wherever I'm going, he's coming with me. Yo, he's coming with me. And I said it was the same for you, man. And we've always stayed in touch. We've always been connected. Regardless of how far apart we are, man, and regardless of how much time apart we are, my spirit's with you, and I know yours is with mine, man. And that was one of the beautiful things I appreciated about gratitude, and one of the beautiful things I appreciate about modeling masculine relationships and masculine support, especially among men of color, but among black men, because my sense was that like a lot of times we could be more in competition than collaboration and creation.
yeah,
So it was like, yo, man, I was like, yes, like, man, I see your post, man, like when your daughter came, man, I was like, yo, oh my God, he's a girl dad. That's what's up, bro. I'm so proud of what you accomplished. And as an entrepreneur, even when you started building out the entrepreneurs, the internships, and I remember us having a conversation like, yo, Paul, I gotta scale this, man. And you
yeah,
went and did it, man.
yeah,
You went
yeah,
and did it, man. You're doing it. So I always hold you dear in my heart and in my spirit, man, because like, yo, I see you, man, and you're a man of integrity, man. So I'm
yeah.
always with you, bro.
I appreciate
Always
that,
with you,
man.
man.
I appreciate it. And likewise, man. The feeling is mutual. I've always admired your insights, and a lot of brothers, man. We don't want to go. We don't want to go deeper. We don't want to, dig in and really find out who we really are, what's inside of us. To
Yeah.
really understand what we could be capable of. And so when I run across a brother that's willing to go beyond the surface level, that's intriguing to me because I want to be that person. I want to learn how to grow internally, so
Yeah.
that everything around, because the we grow, more of the things around grow, the women in our life, the children in our life, the friends in our life, the family in our life, you know,
Yeah, man.
um, and when you've been rejected and you've been a kid that had to always prove yourself,
Yeah.
I get to choose my friends in life now. You know,
Yep.
I get to
Yep.
choose the type of people that I want around me. And when I meet a guy like you, man, I'm like, I know what I'm getting. I know
Yeah.
what I'm getting with Paul, man. It's like Paul is the guy that we're gonna have some insightful conversation. Because I'm gonna say
Yeah.
something and it's gonna spark something in him and it's gonna lead somewhere else. And it's gonna be like before the call is over, it's like, I grew in that. I grew in that
Yes.
conversation.
Me
I
too,
grew,
bro. Me
grew right.
too. And dude, this is what it's about, right? In my judgment, it's like, and it's wild. I was talking to my client about this morning. And this is a part of our environment. What's the environment as men, as fathers? Do we have ourselves in that will support our growth, that will hold us accountable, that will sharpen our sword so we cut clean in all the BS and all the distractions that are out there? What is our environment? In my book, I call it the King's Court, putting together your King's Court, right? Like, who are
I
the
like.
cats in your corner? Yo, bro.
I like that.
Yeah, man. It's like, yo, put that court together. Who those? And it could, listen, men. It could be men and women. If you're
Hmm.
in a relationship, best believe your spouse, your partner's in that piece.
Right.
You got a good spouse, guess what? They're in it with you, man. They want to see you grow. Like, I see your wife, bro. I see yo, look, man. She at your
Yeah.
side, bro. When you were telling me about the breakfast and how, like, she makes breakfast, bro, I had the biggest smile on my face, man. Because I
Yeah.
see how you all support each other. And I'm like, yo, this is beautiful, bro.
And my daughters are involved too. You know, they want to be involved. So we would have had that all on display, but it'll happen.
Yo, what's
But
happening?
but
It's happening.
it's a growth thing, man, and I'm so appreciative of all of that. You know, because I know
Yes,
that this
bro.
is something that we need, man. We need to support one another. So,
Mm-hmm.
hey, man, look, um, I know we're going to dive into the material for the audience, for those who are going to be listening. Let me give you a little bit of insight about 21st century fatherhood. So for those that don't know what we are about and what we're doing. So our main goal is to educate fathers, to impact fathers, and to provide a safe space for fathers to explore, open up, and connect with other strong men. And so we host events. We do things like this where we connect and provide information, and just seeking out quality insights that's not necessarily mainstream, but can be very impactful for that individual out there who doesn't know how to take care of himself mentally,
Mm.
physically, emotionally, spiritually. Um, and so, if there's something that you are dealing with or struggling with, have an open mind. Maybe
Yeah.
something today can spark your interest, spark where you are. My brother Paul here just wrote a brand new book, Heal Thy Man Method, and I'm looking forward to learning about some of the key points and insights of why this book was written, the backstory, how can we support the book, and
Mm.
just really having a good conversation about what it means to grow and
Yeah,
heal,
man.
and
Yeah.
and what that looks like on the other side of healing. Because we hear a lot, Paul, about being narcissistic, or he doesn't want to deal with himself, he doesn't know himself or his
Right.
emotions. We hear a lot about what men are not doing. I want to have conversations about how can we get better,
Right.
because at the end of the day, you can say all day what I'm not, but tell me how to get better so I can start operating and moving in that direction. So I'm
Mm.
excited, man, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it, and I know it's going to be an awesome conversation.
Yo,
Introduce
bruh.
yourself, bro.
Hi, yeah, blessings, man. Thank you, Maurice, for this space. My name is Paul Newell. I'm author of Heal Thy Man Method. Also, as far as like my background, I've been in corporate America doing sales and service, and I've been a trainer for going on 27 years, man. Like helping people really get the best out of themselves physically in the beginning, and then as I started taking yoga and I started learning more about mindfulness practices, as I started doing more men's work and men's work facilitation, I started helping more people, especially men. I really started to focus more on men's well-being. I would say it's going on almost 10 years now. Actually, no, I would say 8, because it started when I did the New Warrior Training Adventure with the Mankind Project. And I started recognizing, like, man, there's so many tools that I had yet to learn, that I thought I was moving as a man in society, yet I had so many things I was missing, or so many things I was hiding, so many things I was lacking, man. And it was showing up in a lot of ways. Like, it was showing up in my relationship, it was showing up at work, it was showing up as how it was as a father. So I really started focusing in on, like, with yoga practices, mindfulness. I started doing and creating online programs for men to embrace their different blueprints. Like in Jungian psychology, they call them archetypes. So, like, helping men discover how they show up as a lover, how they show up as a warrior, how they show up as a mystic, how they show up as their sovereign self. And I've also recently been focusing on helping men and women focus on how they communicate with themselves and others. So it all kind of came together, and backstory about why I created the book, especially, I'm excited to be here to talk about this. Is the first I created the book because I have a strained relationship with my kids. Like, I'm a man that was married. I'm divorced now. I have 3 children, all with different women, and 2 of them are a result of my pain, man. Being very undisciplined with my what I call now my wand, because it's a space of creativity. But instead of healing, I was using drugs and alcohol as a way of calming myself, of soothing my pains. And it resulted with 2 children out of wedlock that I rarely see. Even my son from my former marriage, I rarely see them. And going through child support, family courts, battling courts to get time with my kids, I had a lot of anger that started to unearth, because I was realizing that men fail to have rights, and in courts there's a lack of accountability for men to be able to see their kids. So I started really honing in on that and starting to heal myself. And that's how a lot of the majority of the methods in Heal Thy Man method came about. Like, I was in the hospital for high blood pressure, and I was like, damn, man, I may die and my kids may never know me. So that's when I made the decision. I was like, it's time for me to write something. So even if I never speak to my kids, like, if I'm gone and they want to get to know me, like, they can, and they also want to know how to move in life as a man of color, a black man that has to be black. My boys are biracial. My last one's a girl that I have yet to meet, and it's painful, man. And I started meeting more men that were going through the same thing, that had taken on alcohol, that had taken on drugs, that had been angry. And so I started to really look at what are the ways I can help men, even men outside of that situation, to really stand in themselves, learn more about themselves, be able to shed the wound, shed the anger, and live in a different way. Because, listen, I know if whatever happens with my, I'm still connected. I'm connecting and doing my part in being established with my kids. And I know that, like, listen, if something happens, like, they got the book, like, read the book, you know what I mean? Like, navigate through life. So I'm excited to go through this, because, man, you sent a scripture, 1 Corinthians 16:13.
Yeah.
And can I tell you, bro, it's so wild, because First Corinthians written by Paul, right? And it was so synchronous, because my mom named me after the Apostle Paul. And she was like, and when I saw it, I was like, oh man, this is right on time. But when I really started digging into the scripture, and I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, so we were always, like, reading scriptures and things. I really appreciated what this scripture had to say for men. And I recognized that there were certain relationships in what it was talking about in that scripture, and a lot of things I cover in the book. So I want to take some time, and I want to go over these things, man, and like leave some time for questioning. So we'll take like another 15-20 minutes and go through that. But, like, to read the scriptures, like, that be watchful, stand firm in faith, act like men, be strong. Let all that you do be done in love. Mm-hmm. So, I want to break this down, Maurice, right? Be watchful. So, what the heck does that even mean, man?
Yeah.
Be aware. Be aware. Like, you, Maurice, you and I were talking about environment. It's being aware of yourself. And when I look at that, I said, damn, I wrote, the first part of the book is called Step into the Arena. And it's about stepping into the arena of you versus you. Because my whole concept when I talk to men, I said the only person that's going to save you is you. You can read a bunch of books, you can read a bunch of things, and if they're looking to put you in a box, it's about you getting to where who you are as a man. So when I wrote the book, it's about stepping into the arena was the first step. It's about looking at self-awareness and being watchful of what are the stories that I have in my life that are running my life, right? So, and I noticed this particularly when I started to dive in for myself on what's my story about life, right? One of my stories is like, I have to be someone else to be accepted. Really? And then that had me putting on a bunch of masks, right? I was like, what for? You know? Then it was like, what's my story about love? My story about love was like, if I show up as they'll never. If I show up as who I am, they're gonna leave. And Maurice, when I look back on my relationships, that's what I created, man.
Can I say something right there?
Of course, yes.
You said if I show up, if I show up who I am, they would leave. The fear is that they would leave because that shame and guilt and fear of not being accepted causes us to clam up and tell these stories about who we think we are, and then not realizing that the person may be ready to receive that, but we don't want to give it to them because we think that means they're going to see me weak,
right?
And it's like, but if you talk to any woman or man today in a relationship, what they probably learned from their maybe previous relationship is that I need to be honest with myself. I need to tell you, this is my flaw. This is who I am. This is what I'm dealing with. Let's just get this out the gate, so that I can grow. I don't have no intention of not growing, but I do have every intention of being myself.
Yes, man. And that's where the relationship grows, right? Like, yo, being yourself.
Being yourself.
Because, man, look, there may be some people that have yet to be able to handle that, right? Because a lot of, in my judgment, Maurice, is that a lot of people move in relationships out of wounds. Okay. Like they're wounded. There's a projection that they see in someone. They have an attachment to them. Now all of a sudden, like, this is my attachment. My attachment is coming from a wound rather than from who I am. And this was a big thing for me, learning to heal myself. And listen, I want men that are watching this to be free understanding, like, all of a sudden, this guy's got it together. No, nah. This is a practice, man. So like the stuff I write, I still read my book and come back to chapters because this is a practice. This is learning. This is being in life, understanding that there may be times I slip back and I get to course correct. And this is a part about rewriting the story, because one of the things I found is that when I'm locked into my story, I create patterns. So as soon as I started to find, like, oh, Junk, I think this woman's going to start to see who I am. Guess what? I start to emotionally disconnect and start talking to other women. Start being like, hey, start creating this atmosphere of like, hey, I have fertile ground to cheat. And I noticed this and I was like, yo, this isn't what I want in my life. Especially as I got older, I'm like, I want someone to I want to have a partner. And I had to recognize those stories created patterns. It created habits, like whether it was me, like, all right, like I like me looking at porn to be emotionally disconnected from my partner. Me all of a sudden, like, really flaring up in anger to get my partner to back off. Me in life, like me always kind of people pleasing, right? Rather than like being in myself, man. So
the disease to please.
And it is, man. It is, right? Because, like, I know for me, I'm a recovering people pleaser, right? So, like,
me too, bro.
It's a thing for me, and I noticed like my patterns in my defense, like, and it happened to me this week in a meeting. I'm meeting with a new client, right? My teammate and I were meeting with a new client, and I could tell and sense that they're stiff. And I'm like, oh, junk. So I said a joke, and like I noticed, like it was a way for me to notice, like, oh man, they really are stiff. But like I told my teammate, I was like, look, man, that's like my mechanism for helping myself feel safe,
Mm.
right? So I had to understand, like, what are my mechanisms for helping myself feel grounded. Whereas before it was like, I gotta make a joke and be Sambo to make them laugh and have them like me. When in reality, it's free of having someone like you. It's more about, hey, do they respect you to do your job? Like, that's the main thing. And it's more about, are you comfortable in the relationship and what's it gonna take for you to get there? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And another piece of the awareness of being mindful is there's a chapter I have in there about the armor that we wear.
Mm.
And when you were talking about the shaving of the beard, right? I think what you said is like, what are you hiding behind?
What you hiding behind?
Right, right. And it's look, it's a mask we wear. It's like, brothers, listen, let me tell you something. It's like when you have cats, when you ask a cat, like, yo, how you doing today? Ah, man, I'm good, man. I'm good. First of all, the body language in itself is telling you they're far from good.
Yeah.
Yet this is our common reply, and this blocks us off because a good amount of time people are going to be free of wanting to dive deep into what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's an issue we get to address as men. Like, let's be real. Let's have a space. First of all, let's have a space where we can drop our mask, when we can take off our armor. Because what tends to happen, Maurice, the longer that we hide behind the mask and the longer that we hold on to this armor, the armor ends up getting rusty underneath, man, and cuts us to shreds. You see? So we get to address this and have that space for us to really like figure out, like, hey man, where can I take this armor off so I can be my true authentic self and say what's real, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's that piece about being mindful. The next piece is that did you have a question about that, Maurice? You we good to move on?
Good. It's good.
Yeah, cool, man. Thank you, bro. So the next piece here is standing firm in faith, and this is where I look at men being on mission. One of the things I found, Maurice, is that like, and it's this book. I think you'll like this book called Ikigai. It's about like it's called the centenarians, like these people that live over 100 years old. It talks about what it takes, like what is it about them. And one of the things is that they're on purpose.
Mm.
One of the things I find when I lead men's circles and I mentor men is like, men have yet to have a focus. Men fail to be on mission. And listen, men, the mission can be something. It's like your calling. It's something that you are destined to do. Something that is driving you. Like Maurice, like I could tell by my experience of you, man, and getting to know you, is your purpose is supporting fatherhood, man, to the highest regard and highest selves, and supporting other people in being abundant and living their best lives. That's a mission that becomes a part of a legacy, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's when a man could be on mission, all of a sudden everything begins to align. And I really believe, like, because right now, like you mentioned before, like, man, when I hear a lot about, like, yo, this guy's got no purpose, he's just floundering. Yes, exactly, because there fails to be a vehicle to help and support men to figure out, like, yo, what do you really feel you're here to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you here to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And to your point, I think that when I look back at some of the things that I will say are things that would make me be more driven and purpose driven, is that desiring to be better than where you started.
Yeah.
Just taking from the perspective that naturally you're going to matriculate through some level of life.
Yeah, man.
And if you start to look at where you could be, get a sense and understanding of something that's maybe ideal, but just saying to yourself, I could be that, right? That to me is a motivation in itself to say, let's find out, let's try, let's
Yes,
try.
man.
Let's try to get to a better place. And I get it. Some people just don't know what better looks like, or haven't been exposed to certain things. But that's why this conversation is important, because we need people to start asking themselves the question: can I be better than
Yeah.
where I started?
Right.
Do you want to keep breaking women's hearts? Do you want to keep not showing up for your kids in the way that they need? Do you want to keep going around the mulberry bush? Then maybe this conversation isn't for you. But for those who want to grow and heal and become strong watchmen, um, that's why these conversations matter. That's
Yeah,
why
man.
the sacrifice to get on this internet and spend this time talking about this matters.
Yeah,
Because
man.
um, I tell you what, man, I've started to taste some of that inner success in my life, and I'm like, oh, I want more of this.
Yeah.
When you when
Yep.
you when you walk into a room and you don't have to feel accepted, when you've dealt with rejection all your life, that's a different type of power.
Different, bro.
Because my story is that my mom was abused drugs, and so at 3 years old, I lost a lot of that relationship with her because the drugs separated me and her from having that relationship. So
Mm.
I'm 38 now, Paul, and for years, almost 35 years, I've lived with the fact that that's the last time I felt love
Yeah.
as a kid, right? So we talk
Mm.
about going back and talking to our old self. We had to do that at the gratitude training. We had to write a letter to our older self. Where did things fall off the rails? Where
Yep.
did the expectations and the promises get broken in our life? And some of us are
Yeah.
still trying to um, find this fulfillment for what something happened 20 years ago. But for me, the growth is that I'm not going to get that back, but I could get something different in my life now that
Right.
may even be better.
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
like
Yes.
I look at my children and I say, I'm thankful for what I have.
Right.
Some people
Right.
don't know how to do that because they don't understand what it means to appreciate something that God made.
Mm.
But for me, I'm sitting there saying to myself, man, I love these kids. They get on my nerves
Yeah.
sometimes, but I love these kids, man,
That's
because
love, man.
I can provide love to them in a way
Right.
that I didn't receive. And when you're healed from some things. I'm not totally healed. I'm still working on some things. But
Me too.
when you have some healing in your life from the past, you say to yourself, it's not about me anymore.
Right. Bruh.
It's not about me.
And Maurice, this is what I'm talking about faith, right? Like everything I'm hearing you say, and man, please be aware, and maybe you want to rewind this and listen to this part of this conversation again. Well, Maurice, when you were talking, this is the faith piece. There's a belief in something that you have yet to see. Like you have lived in this for the majority of your life. Then when you started to have that faith, and it's sometimes it's and listen, sometimes man, it's about having faith in something higher than yourself until you have faith in yourself. Sometimes people will have faith and belief in you until you have it in yourself. And listen, Maurice, I know over the years you've been a man of God, man. You've stuck true to your faith, and I truly believe that that's helped you to keep faith in yourself. Because men, when it comes down to it, to be a man on mission and to stand firm in your faith, there's gets to be a part of you that constantly believes in who you are. Even if it has yet to show up, please best believe there is a part of you that has yet to be born that you know is there.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about, standing in your firm in faith and being on your mission, man. Because listen, it may happen after you. The fact that you can keep it in your mind, in your optic stem, in your sight,
Yeah.
is the key piece to you living and being your best self. And listen, and this comes with courageousness. This is this part about acting like a man. Because to be a leader in your life, you get to be courageous. And Maurice, I heard you say this too. Like, yo, it's a different flex when you can walk in a room with like, yo, hey, listen, you gotta accept me. I'm already up in this piece. I'm accepting all up in here. You know what I mean?
I'm already accepted. I
Bruh,
love
I'm
myself.
already accepted.
Yeah. I
Right.
love myself, man.
That's it.
I used to hate myself, but I love myself, man. You know?
Yes.
And when you love yourself, you will treat yourself better. You treat yourself better.
Listen,
You sit there
every
and you
time.
say, the doctor said I got high blood pressure.
Yep.
I can't just eat whatever because I know that that is detrimental to my health. I have
Yes.
to take better care of myself. I got to do
Yes, bro.
something that helps me to be better in my life. So you start understanding that I just haven't had a good relationship with myself. I just haven't treated myself to the higher qualities of life.
Yep.
It's nice to go out to a nice restaurant and experience fine dining, but
Yeah.
what about the concierge service to yourself? You know, Meaning serve yourself well, serve
Yeah.
yourself well, like getting in good information, digesting it, spending time meditating, talking to that person inside yourself and saying, "We're winners, man. We're not going to sit around and just keep moping on this. How do we get
Yes.
through this?" And I've had some dark days, man. I've had some dark days in business. I've had some dark days in my marriage. I've had dark days in my parenting life with friends. I've had issues with my health that I didn't know I would have.
Right.
But the healing part is that you start to say, I'm not going to let this break me down to a point where I can't get back up again. I'm mentally down, but I'm not gonna stay here. I'm gonna figure out how to get up from this place.
See, Maurice, this listen. So this go, man. What, bruh? What you're saying right here is those latter parts of the scripture, right? And it's about that courage, being acting like a man, being strong in body and will, right? Because listen, men, like Maurice, as I'm hearing you talking, I can relate because there's been dark days, and it's taking courage to move forward. Like, listen, because I know September is Suicide Awareness Month, and I tell in the book, like, there's been dark days when I'm like, yo, what's it? Why even go forward? But I can remember when I was going through family court. It was the fourth time I went to court to get time with my kids,
Mm-hmm.
my first son. And I remember I was like, man, all they did was ask me about child support. And I was broke, man. Like, listen, because at that time, whenever I had money, if you're in arrears for child support, they can wipe out your bank account. So I remember I was consulting. I got a great gig. I got paid, put in the bank. I was like, yeah, I went shopping. It was like declined. I was like, what do you mean, man? I got $2,500 in there.
Yeah.
I went to my bank account, Schwab.
Wow.
What, man? I remember sitting in my basement. I was just like, I was really thinking like, yo, what's the way I can end this?
Wow.
And man, there's gonna be dark days. And the thing is, it's being courageous.
Mm-hmm.
It's stepping through a threshold of an understanding of, listen, I'm at this place right now,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna address these challenges, and may have no idea what it's gonna look like. That's a courageousness about being a man and masculinity that people fail to really talk about. Masculinity is like knowing, hey, there's some danger there, and I'm gonna step into it anyway, because I have faith in myself. I believe in myself. I have responsibility. So whatever comes, I'm able to respond in a way that I know I can move forward, bro.
Yeah.
That's big, man. It's a piece.
It reminds me of the story of Joshua in the Old Testament,
Mm,
where you know they're the land that they were supposed to conquer was already theirs.
yeah,
They just had to walk into it. Right now, there were threats, but the threats wasn't what they thought they were. The
yeah,
threat was really, the story is really powerful because it's about the threat within ourselves. Because the Bible says that we saw ourselves as grasshoppers in their sight. How many times have we seen ourselves as smaller,
yep,
right? And then the story is also encouraging because while there were some who said we can't do this, there were others who said we're well able. And
yeah,
is that the courage in the story to me is that I'm well able because I don't see myself like that. I don't see myself as a loser. That's the
right,
courage. The
yeah,
courage is the ability to see yourself as a winner. Now,
yep,
hear me clearly, guys. You can't see yourself as a winner if you don't get around winning.
Yep.
You
True
gotta get
words.
around some winning. You gotta see better. You gotta see how a man carries himself. You gotta see how a man doesn't always have to respond with violence every time there's a situation. Every man is not threatened by another man's masculinity.
Right.
And if you really get real deep within yourself, you appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate the perspective that another person brings. And you start to say, I'm learning something here. I'm learning how to be more of a man in myself.
Yes.
Like I've always been the guy that was inquisitive. I always wanted to peer into what other people were saying and doing from a perspective of I can learn something from that. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I think that a lot of the blueprint of our life is already written, but the problem is that we're too afraid to read it.
Yo.
To read it. I mean, I just believe that, man. Like we're just too afraid to read it, bro.
So you do this, and listen, man. This is you hitting on you hit. I'm looking forward to you really diving into the book and us having another conversation because I have a chapter in the book. I have a chapter in my book called "Moving Through the Threshold," and it's about it's about moving into an unknown. And I think it's like until men will stay in their ways until they have the courage to discover their true selves, and they got to move through the threshold to do that. And in order to do that, there's usually a guide there to help you. It's like what's in the hero's journey, right? They talk about the hero's journey is like you go through this threshold of like Neo in the Matrix. He knew what his life was. He knew his life was there was something more. He had to go through this threshold. And when he went through the threshold, he had Morpheus to guide him. So just like how you're talking about men, you got to get around winning. It's like, and there's another chapter I have called The King's Court. This is what The King's Court about. Men, find a mentor. Yeah. If there's a man in your life or a person in your life, listen, it's regardless of gender. Yeah. If there's a person in your life that you're like, damn, I want to be like that, go talk to him. Say, hey, can I take you out for tea or coffee? Hey, I'd love to have a call with you. This is what's going on in my life. Men get to mentor men. This is one of the groups that I'm in, men mentoring men. It's not about hierarchy and like I'm above you. It's about men sharing experience because you know what? I'm always about like, yo, people like, hey, I admire what you do. Yo, sit down, have some coffee. Let's talk about it. What? Yeah, because I want you to make new mistakes. If I already made the mistake, I want to take what I learned and give it to you so you can make new ones, so you blaze your path. You see what I'm saying, man? Yeah. This is what it's about. We got to get around, especially for our ascension and us coming into our sovereign self. It's imperative, and this is one of the reasons one of the other reasons I wrote the book is that look, I'm not telling you what to do. There's activities throughout the book so you find yourself. That's it. I'm a guide here. I'm like, all I'm doing is I'm holding your light here in this canteen. I'm like, okay, yeah, I know it's dark right there, but you see this glimmer of light? This is you right here. I'm holding it for you. Mm-hmm. You're going to find it. Hey, I'm going to let you know you're going to be okay. And this is about the strength in body and mind too, because, you know, I want men to understand too, your body and mind, it's important for you to invest in your body and mind.
There you go.
Okay. And investment, like I've found that investment for myself, Maurice, it would be like, all this excuse, I don't have the money, I'm a child support, blah, blah, blah. No, you can invest time. You can invest energy. You can invest attention as well as money. There's a lot of things that you can invest in. Like Maurice, I see you, bro. I see you riding the bike. You stay active, man. Even when you had the foot injury, I saw you taking it slow, steady steps. Bro, I remember I was like, yo, bro, what happened, man? And this is the thing, man. Men, because I know like training men for especially focusing on men, it's like, oh man, I remember I used to be able to do this. Good. You may be able to do it different, but men, please remember, like to be strong in body and mind is about moving. because your body has memory. If you haven't done something in a while, I'm not saying, hey, I used to run 2 miles in 15 minutes. I'm not saying you go out and do that. I'm far from saying that. All I'm saying is you move so your body remembers you have the capacity to do something great.
Yeah.
Okay? You have the capacity to do something that is beyond what you know right now. And also, it's in alignment with who you are, what you're equipped with, and where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Man, please remember that. Please remember that piece, man.
Yeah. Love it.
And I want to so the last piece here I want to dive into is moving in love, moving in and with love. And I bring this up because, when I was in the hospital with high blood pressure, and they didn't want me to leave because my blood pressure is it was 183 over 163, bro. They were like, we're not letting you out of here. You're going to stroke out. I was like, what do you mean? They were like, and the doctors were like, it scared me more because the doctors were like, I don't even know what to do with you, man, because you're in good shape. I don't know what's going on. And it was stress. It was stress. And I share an experience in the book, and I want to share this thing from this documentary I saw called The Power of the Heart. And then I'll wrap with this, and then and we'll start to wrap up. Your heart and the love you have in your heart knows where to go. It knows. My judgment or my thoughts with men is that we fail, and there's little spaces for us to really recognize how we use our heart. A lot of times our hearts are hardened. It's like, I'm not going to show anybody this. And it's funny. I watched this documentary called The Power of the Heart. And Maurice, I think you love this one too. And in the beginning of the documentary, they had these people strapped in to their heart rate, and they would show them random pictures. It would be like, oh, a person with a puppy, another person with an axe, and these different random pictures. And what they noticed when they read the results was that the heart responded to the picture before the picture was shown. The heart is your intuition, just like your gut, and learning about energy centers, your heart here and your solar plexus here. These are essential areas for you to know where to go. These are like your compass. So when we can teach ourselves to move in love, first for ourselves, then for others, listen, all is possible.
All is possible.
All is possible. And I encourage men to and this is why I encourage you, pick up the book, reach out to me. Listen, stay involved with 21st Century Fatherhood, because this is that same vibe I'm putting out the book Maurice has been doing.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, start to learn what it means to move in and with love for yourself first. What does that look like? Taking a walk, getting your breath in. Maybe it's like, hey, if you're eating a lot of cheeseburgers, get a salad every now and then. Maybe get a shake, a green juice. I don't know. Hey, listen, there's so many possibilities. And when you're moving in and with love, you'll know what's aligned for you. Mm-hmm. And listen, I'm gonna wrap with that, man. There's I think we got a lot of gems in. Yeah. And I'm gonna wrap with that, bro.
Well, thank you so much, man. And I think that this was very fruitful. It is not the way we had designed it originally, but it is definitely going to touch somebody. I do believe that this is going to be impactful for somebody. And I'm going to do everything I can to push the material, push your book, man, because people need to start engaging with material that is about self and growth. And who else better to talk about it, man, than the man himself, man?
Yo, listen, man. I listen. It's part of my path, man. This is my mission, my purpose. I want to help men be in their highest selves, because when men can be in their highest selves, our collective is a much different place, man.
Absolutely.
So, man, pick up the book. You can go to www.healthyman.method. It's going to read out as healthymanmethod.com. There's the book. You can get the book there. If you're ordering the book from that page, you can get it's going to be a signed copy coming to you. There's also opportunities for different programs that I have online, different mentorships. And you can also find the book on Amazon and on barnesandnoble.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, my brother. And I think this is the first of many discussions, conversations, and
Absolutely.
collaborations, man.
Yes.
Because you can't do everything, but I think we gave enough today to spark the interest of saying, where can I start? Like, this is a
Yeah.
good place to start. I think you gave some very practical tips about what that means. And of course, if you're here in the North Carolina area, the first century fatherhood. We're just scratching the surface of where this thing can go, and I need good brothers to be a part of this conversation, because this is a community. This is not just about
Yes, man.
a book or a group. This is about how do we show up different and better and
Mm.
more impactful, for those who need us most: our jobs, our children, our wives, our girlfriends, our mothers, our aunts. Everybody needs a better version of us, and the way we do that is we got to do that work on the inside. So we don't be like those people that said we see ourselves as grasshoppers. We want to see ourselves as courageous, loving,
Yeah.
powerful men who are in touch with our emotions, but also know how to be very much masculine in our energy and what we give out to the world. So, man, this is great. You got me charged up now, Paul. I'm
Yeah, man. Bless
ready.
up. And listen, I want to say too, I want to say thank you for being a vessel, man. Thank you for being courageous. Thank you for creating this space for men, for fathers. I appreciate you more than words could ever express, and I'll continue to appreciate you and support you, man, because I believe in you. I
Yeah,
trust you, man. I see you, man. And
thanks,
it's a
bro.
blessing to be in this journey with you, bruv.
Thank you,
All right?
man.
Bless
Thank
up,
you,
King.
audience. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.